Hey everybody, welcome to Local Business Hacks Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Case, and I'm on a mission to help you. Every week, we're going to be talking to local business owners and experts to get their best tips, tricks, and hacks to grow your business. This show is designed to teach you, inspire you, and motivate you to take massive action and start to build your future-proof business. Whether you're just starting off or you're taking your existing business to the next level, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Hey, local business hackers. I'm your host, Carl Case, Director of Global Business Development at Referrizer, joined today by a super special guest, a veteran in the fitness space, Steve Pirt, CEO and founder of FlexWerk. Steve, welcome to Local Business Hack.
Thank you, Carl. It's my pleasure to be here.
Obviously, I gave you quite the background of being in this space now for how many years?
22.
22 years, and coming up with one of the coolest, most progressive ideas in the fitness space, I would say, since boutique fitness became a rise. This didn't happen overnight. So before we talk about what FlexWerk is, tell me about you and your journey to get to this point in the fitness space.
Sure. It's all about the origin story. Trainer 22 years ago, Sacramento, California. One day I'm working out. I'm in great shape, having a good time. Just a kid who enjoyed fitness. The GM taps me on the shoulder, says, "Hey, I'll pay you to work out with all of these people." Didn't even know that was a job. Next day, I'm a certified personal trainer. And within the first 35 days, I had 28 clients, servicing probably over 100 to 120 hours going into my second month. And I did not know that was abnormal or an aberration in the industry. I just wanted to be busy. And these people said they were going to give me money to do it. So I downed a ton of caffeine. I figured out some basic systems. I went around and met everyone. And there we went. From there, people wanted me to duplicate that process. So about 3 months into it, they said, "Hey, can you do that again?" I said, "I don't know." They said, "We'll pay you to do it." I said, "I'll figure it out." I was a fitness manager at a club that was pretty much falling apart. And I put together the right team. I did pretty much the same thing that I did, tweaks between the team on what their needs were. But I found that most fit pros just wanted to have more clients more frequently in front of them so they could apply their passion in their trades. I became fitness manager of the year for the country out of 500 and some odd clubs at 24-hour fitness. And then I was able to do it again the next year with a better club and a bigger club. And from then my career was really just, I was willing and capable to go in kind of the deepest, darkest, dirtiest HR issues that they could throw at me. I like the fight. I have a wrestling background. I saw opportunity, and I always just played against terrible comp plans the year before. And if I could get them up with the right people doing the right things, they kept paying me more money. And so I just said, "All right, we'll figure this out. It's just fitness." And through my career, went from trainer all the way up through various brands. If a brand kind of got me capped, the competition said, "We'll bring you on and we'll give you that next level." And so I became kind of a Ronin. And the last job I held was national franchise director for UFC gyms, overseeing all North America and 119 locations. But the journey was through all those different organizations and through all those different positions, I was able to interact with tens of thousands of guests and fitness professionals and GMs and VPs and front desk people and executives. And I started to notice a pattern about 8 to 10 years ago that the same problems persisted each place. And it was funny because I kept thinking, "Oh, this is going to be better," or "These people are smarter. There's more money here. Or, this is a bigger organization, so it's going to get tighter and better." And the problems kept permeating. And so we'll talk about the origin, but that was really the genesis of FlexWerk.
It's amazing how many of my guests, I'd say at least 25 people at this point, have started off their career at 24-hour and just really rapidly grew. So obviously something's working at 24-hour to get you sparked up to expand your fitness career. So beyond excited for what you're up to now.
I was born in San Ramon and raised in San Ramon, which is their headquarters. So I think it was destined that my career start there, even though it was Sacramento. But I do have a massive amount of credit for Mark Mastroff in his origin. He really was truly the godfather that has set the seeds for a lot of the innovations that are currently existing. But he also set the seed, and everyone has copied it since, and it hasn't deviated till now.
Till now, and getting to work with my buddy Adam Sedlak over at UFC Gyms. I'm sure that was a wild ride as they continue to expand, let alone your title as National Director of Franchise. I mean, I can only imagine what a roller coaster that was. But know,
Well, Adam recruited me out of blind to UFC. Called me up from LinkedIn. Quick little story. Said, "Hey, Steve Pirt, this is Adam Sadek. I'm sure you've heard of me." I said, "Of course, right? I know who you are. You're icon of the industry." He said, "I've got this role for you. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. We're going to fly you down to Newport, but we got to bring in an outsider to help us get this franchise organization back together. Are you down?" I said, "I'm down. Let's go." And I was Adam's only direct report. He's always a hair on fire salesman building that organization, but it was a lot of fun. And it was a tremendous opportunity and platform for me to see the industry from a different perspective, which was the final culmination, I think, of my journey to say, all right, FlexWerk makes sense. Because back to your original question, FlexWerk, as I was solving challenges, obviously with the team for more of a macro solution for franchisees, both here domestically and then internationally, I started to see a needs requirement of about 7-11 different things that they all needed, whether it was systems and putting together like aggregated back-end pieces for technology or marketing solutions, teaching, training, hiring, developing, staffing. I remember that's exactly what fitness professionals needed, but now at a micro level. And so we got really efficient at building it for the macro level. I thought, well, wait a second. If they have the exact same problems, if I could figure out a way to solve the same problems for the fitness professionals, but make it affordable and approachable, there's a massive market opportunity. And so that was my reverse engineering process. Say, we can, but I had to start from scratch. I had to start from a complete blank canvas. And the 3 requirements that I had as I started bringing together the world's best vendors and partners in technology and design and operations and everything else was, we have to take technology, design, and operations, and we have to harmonize them together from the very beginning to make sure that we enable our teams at the end of the piece to be humans. We got to remove all the menial tasks that we put on them at the front desk and all the other things so that we can really empower them to do what we want them to do. Highs, goodbyes, and enact. And then we get out of the way so fitness professionals have an opportunity to be successful, and then guests can come in without all the entrapments and all the nonsense that we usually have them go through with the leads, appointments, shows, enrollments, referrals, right? You got to call the 18-year-old, you got to have the coach, and everything has to be perfect. You got to show up at the right time. The right person has to talk to you. You have to get in there. You have to go through that tour to a presentation that has to be on point to get to a class that starts on time with the right coach who's trained to do that. And if any of those pieces are broken, it's a bad experience. We're not buying and you're out the door.
You mean to tell me that fitness professionals don't enjoy the business aspect of what we have to do every day? No way, Steve.
Right. I found I call my people, most of my career, half of it has been specifically focused on fitness professionals, right? And I found that 80% of them, approximately, if you said, who are you? They're more of a scientist. I want to help people, right? And the dirty word is sales, and they have that kind of association. But at the end, all fitness professionals, trainers, coaches, right, for the most part, but fitness professionals, by the way, is a term we use to elevate the language of the industry. I think it's time. And I also think it's more inclusive to more than just trainers and coaches. For us, fitness professionals are anyone who are in the health and wellness space that have clients that are giving them compensation for their time and their talents. So now we can bring in yogis and exercise physiologists and stretchologists and people who are in clinical settings in the hospitals. So it's not just a play on words. I just think if we can elevate these professionals and get them to think of themselves as professionals and serious, then we have a massive migration opportunity, because 88% of all these people in the world, not just the US, are someone's employee. It's time for them to be their own entrepreneur.
And without further ado, tell us what FlexWerk is, how you guys are really molding the fitness industry. I'm a firm believer, but tell us what you got going on.
I love it. So we're building the world's first and only co-working spaces for fitness professionals.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's great because there are businesses that I was able to look at. I looked at the white paper for WeWork, hence FlexWerk, with a really tight name and word association with a brand that is amazing and has done a lot for entrepreneurs, and mostly in software settings and whatnot. Salon suites, salon lofts, right? So there are industries that almost have the exact same processes and needs, right? It's a retail setting. You've got professionals, you have clients, right? Exchanging time and talents for them to get together. But just like hairstylists 12 or 13 years ago, fitness professionals needed space and the tools to win. And so what we provide is we provide private space, premium equipment, and technology that you can personalize so that they can come in and they can run their business their own way without anyone in the middle. And then the key, though, I think, is beyond the space, because that's great, but there's the dream of dreams for most fitness professionals, another generalized term I know, but I've talked to tens of thousands. So I think I've got a pretty good pulse on, in their hearts are saying, you know what? I wish I had my own business. I wish I had my own gym. That's the dream of dreams. I don't want to listen to my boss anymore who doesn't know anything about fitness because he's a retail guy or a sales guy or an ops guy, or I got to be at these meetings I don't get paid for, or I only get 20% of the take of my clients, or I am training on the side, or I got to watch out for this guy. I sneak into this gym. I'm at this person's house now after, there are all these solutions that people have been piecing together for a long time prior to COVID, and now it's accelerated post-COVID. But it's pretty much hacked together. It's in the shadows. It's fractured. It's not efficient. It's very similar to a franchisee who's trying to run their own game and not listen to the franchisor by just running the play. Well, for an independent fitness professional, there is no play to run. And it's almost prohibitive for them to go and get a lease and then get equipment and financing. Because at the end of the day, they're mostly able to get clients, schedule them, build the programming, and then drive the success. That's what most fitness professionals want. So we have decided to take care of the optimized space, provided serious equipment for them to train any type of client, and then privatized it, and then allows them to personalize it from their lighting and their audio, everything from streaming their own content. So we're agnostic, even though we provide the tools to win on our own white label app that's partnered with arguably the most successful fitness professional software in the world. You can come in with your manila folders if you want it, because we're not here to be Big Daddy. We're here to give you a platform to win, step back and fan the flames. And so we've provided in a 3,000 square foot space, what we call flex spaces. So we have 4, what we call pluses, which is able to accommodate probably 2 to 4 adults. We have standards, which is perfect for a single or a double. And then we have 3 connects. And what I've done is I bought the hardware and the licensing and the software and subscriptions or 2 brands, Hydro and Climber, so that you as a guest who doesn't want to lift that day can come in, access it, get right in, half an hour, $6, jump on, one touch, your profile is there, just like if you spent $4,000 and your $50 a month subscription in your living room.
I have a tonal in my house. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, talk to me about how can people get involved with FlexWerk? Where are you guys located? Where are you growing to in the near future?
Absolutely. So we're here in Carmel, Indiana, and that's probably another podcast, right? We relocated from Orange County, California to Carmel. It's probably the number one question I get asked. So I have to infuse it because I'm surprised it didn't come up. You have people go, Carmel, Indiana. We did basically a needs analysis across the country. And there were 2 locations that had my criteria that was perfect. We wanted what I call the Goldilocks effect. Not too hot, not too cold. You don't open up, I say, a search engine company across the street from Google. Well, where I was at in Orange County, California, that's the number 1 market for fitness in the world.
Yeah.
So you don't open up an innovative brand, especially when you got huge behemoths with way more capital that can just bear you with marketing and competition, right? So we found that it was North Dallas area and then Carmel, Indiana had the needs where the economics, the socioeconomics, the demographics, the population, and then the competition were all in these right ratios where we could come in. And it was like the junior varsity team was there and we could come in and swoop it out. But it also sustained a sexy, innovative new brand. And so we flew to Dallas. We went there for 3 days. We flew here. It was October. It was terrible weather. My wife and I looked at each other. 30 days later, we packed it up and we were here. And now we know that Carmel, Indiana is continuously been on Forbes' best place to retire in the country, Money Magazine's top 3 places to raise a family. And that was all serendipitous. That had nothing to do with our research. So we're in the right place at the right time. This is our headquarters. Like I said, we're already a franchisor. You can go to our website at www.flexworkfitness.com. You can download our app, our free app, which is obviously FlexWerk on both Apple and in the Google stores. And that's really going to give you almost everything you need to know. But as I said before, we're already franchising. It's been amazing. We sold 3 units before we even opened our first location, which was only 4 days ago. One of our vendors, most important vendors doing our technology, has been along for the ride for over a year. We've been building for 7, but for the last year, he was putting together the components that I call the friction-free ecosystem. It's our audio, security, access control, lighting design, and back-end CRM that we actually built ourselves, because no fitness CRM could do what we needed to do. We're not doing leads management. We're doing enablement and people movement. So it's very different, very unique. Well, he ran the numbers. He said my numbers were more conservative than his numbers, and they wanted to take the whole state. We gave them 3 locally, and off we go.
That's awesome. Well, congrats, Steve. And obviously 22 years in the fitness space is starting to pay off in big fold. And we're excited to watch FlexWerk take over the US and hopefully expand internationally. Would love to transition a little bit off of FlexWerk and into Steve Pirt himself. Talk to me a little bit about these 22 years in the fitness space, and what are some stories that have really drove home some tools in your toolkit?
I would say, well, there's a lot of stories. It depends on which way you want to go, right? From some strange interactions in locker rooms to stories of success, setback, overcoming adversity. I think I'm probably going to just drive where I feel it's most authentic to me. I would say having grit and determination to be where you're at in your career. And maybe this is a message to other fitness professionals. This is my journey. I work for a lot of people who I would say a lot of people would say was not a good experience. I had bosses that were kind. I had bosses that were not kind. I had ones that were selfish, ones that were generous. And what I was somehow able to do is not only block it out, but take it upon myself to learn from both sides. I learned and observed the VP walking in my early days past the front desk, not saying hi to anybody, scrolling on their BlackBerry back in the day. And it was all just about getting to the GM's office, sitting down, talking numbers, checking a box, and then going off. When I also then observed another VP or district manager come in, stop at the front desk, say hello, spend 30 seconds, look for something that was positive, whether it was an interaction or a smile or their uniform was on point, just kind of sprinkle a little dust, give a little attention, and then move on. And then I could observe how that transformed that person's day or even possible week. And I could make a decision for myself. Who do I want to emulate? Do I want to be that guy who everyone's afraid of, and right? Or do I want to be that guy who changes really the whole perspective and feeling of someone's day, afternoon, or maybe even week? And I made a conscious decision to emulate the second. And through my career, not only did my comp plans align with this, but I found that despite all the challenges or my situations, which, I mean, there were times I took clubs where I had to commute 2.5 hours every day each way. People wouldn't do that. And I didn't wear that as a badge to say, look what I'm doing. I deserve. The word deserve is a dangerous word to me, right? It's earn, show through action. And that's what this brand's about. I said, we're not talking about anything until we open and we show. But despite circumstances that are never optimal or never right, I was able to just put my nose down and create value first by my actions, and then include others in who wanted to emulate or learn, and then expand that. And so it wasn't just about Steve Pirt. It was about bringing the right people in and saying, all right, how do we shave this off? How do we get this tight? If you're interested and you want to come along for the ride, let's go. And I found that was a very, very valuable commodity that can be duplicated by almost anyone with the right willingness to learn, get better a little bit every single day, and just apply the work.
And, it's a testament that you now have your vendors as franchisees, which is pretty cool. It's amazing how many people say that they have to do something instead that they get to. I think that changing that mindset is definitely everything. And once you build that culture, it's contagious. And that's what we're all after in this space, at least.
I agree. I think one of the things that people are starting to resonate, our guests are starting to come in, not just the fitness professionals, but just everyday guests who can obviously come into FlexWerk, is they say it feels authentic.
Love that.
The biggest question is this for real? What's the catch? Right? And I got a lot of trainers say, I want to work for you. I said, we're not hiring, we're empowering. And that's not just a catch, it's true.
Yeah.
Then they go, what's the catch? And they said, no, there's no catch. You mean there's no weird fees? There's no this, you don't take basis points, you don't take revenue from me? No. You go, this literally feels like you reached into my heart and you provided the things that I thought I would never be able to do for myself as a career. And now I can see that it's real. I want to take that step. I want to leap into running my own business and start my own branding and see where this career can really take me.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you got to think about the people that you're really empowering. A majority, if not all fitness professionals that I've come across with in my 30 years in this world is people that are really motivated to help other people motivate themselves to accomplish their goals. So you're talking about the cream of the crop people that you're able to empower that are just scratching the surface, that you're able to explode them to a whole nother level, which is fulfilling in itself. So that's awesome.
We really wanted to solve a problem versus just create another brand and then get caught in the taste great less feeling. My lights are this color, so we're better than this guy with this light color, or our programming because the founder went to this school or did this sport or whatever it is smarter than your guys' founder. Our business is simple. It's about clean, friendly, well-maintained, the old adage from 24-hour fitness, but it's space reservation. Yes, we have business support services for the fitness professionals who want it, but our job is to present the opportunity, get out of the way, and then let them come to us and we can help build them out a la carte.
Love that. Steve, I got a question for you that I think that you're really unique in, aside for the concept, but really making the investment in the last 7 years in getting the organization to where it is today, from technology to marketing to all in all operations. Every franchisor that I meet with wings it until they have the money behind them, have the proof of concept. You know, I know that you know that you're unique in this space in that, but what really was that motivating factor to say, okay, you know what? I'm sure your wife had a full support on this, but hey, honey, you know, I'm leaving UFC and I'm going to do this on our own. And it's going to be years until I'm making money doing it, but there's a reason why. Talk to me through that conversation. You're smiling. I know I'm hitting home, but it's something that everybody has struggled with in this space because the money's not there, the time's not there, the opportunity's not there. So you did it.
Yeah. In fact, this is the point of transition, right? So I pulled one of these out. You got me at home right now, not my space, but this is one of what people now call my manifestos. I have front to back notes starting all the way back in 2016. Like this is 7/24/2016. And we're really starting with my quote, which is every adversity has written within it the needs of an equivalent or greater benefit. So what that means is, and that's Napoleon Hill, in every problem, there's an equal or greater opportunity. And it's the mindset for us to not be scared by the circumstances that are before us, whether it's we're sick, we're tired, we don't have money, it's a huge hill to climb. There is an opportunity and it's up to us to decipher it, to find it, despite the waves crashing around us. So for me, it started with mindset. And then it was a relentless pursuit of putting together about 14 of these. And when I say obsession is the key. But I was beneficial from, as a journeyman through these organizations, information came to me and I just applied the PAR-Q training that I received as a trainer that said, don't assume, leave my ego out, keep asking the questions over and over and over. And I just aggregated a lot of data. And so it was about 7 years ago where she actually told me, hey, you know what? Your stories keep saying the same thing, Steve. Like it's getting old. Like, don't you notice that what you were complaining about or what the challenge was that you're doing with now is the same one as the 2 companies ago? And it didn't click, and then finally it clicked. But this all came through where culmination with UFC, which is amazing. We had an opportunity to go and actually build with a private franchisee more UFCs as a partner. And just before we kind of finalized it and clicked in, she just tapped me on the shoulder and she said, look, you've been obsessing. You do your 16-hour a day job, and then you go and you do another 3 or whatever it is on top of it. You've been obsessing. Before you go build another person's business, yes, we'll have equity and yes, we'll have share. Go into the basement. I'll bring you food and water, whatever she said, but you come back up and you pitch me this concept and I will tell you if it's whack or not. I will be, and she will. And so I said, great. It didn't take long. It was only a couple of hours. Thank God. I came back up. I pitched it, the full thing, business model, financial asset. I didn't have the how on the capital and whatnot, but it was the why and the what that I was relentlessly focused on. And she said, that's amazing. And she sprinkled something on it. She said, let's tweak it. I like it. Why don't we make it a little bit more where it's private and it's more like Airbnb or it's a salon suites. So she took the model and gave me, and I said, that's amazing. Let's go. She goes, great. Now go figure it out, put in the details and go get the money. And let's go build our thing. So it wasn't a permission. My wife, our partnership is not about permission. It's also about empowerment. but this would not be possible without our dynamic and the way that we've done it. This is our 11th move in 15 years, by the way. So for most people, they would go, that's crazy, right? But we've been building our family and the dynamic, and we've been playing chess in every aspect of our lives to get us here. We've homeschooled our kids since 2018 to be fluid and flexible, right? Our whole lives have been built to culminate this. And so that's really the genesis. She's also our co-founder. She drives the retail and this amazing branding and that we have. And she's also behind the scenes in operations. She doesn't come from fitness, but by osmosis, I'd put her up against most in the business right now.
Awesome. Shout out to you, Janice. Steve, I got to ask you, and I love this question. I think your answer is going to be epic. If you were to have the opportunity to have dinner with any historical figure from the past, who would it be?
I love that. I think it would be Washington. I've never been asked this question, and I know it's kind of not a standard go-to. It's a great one, but I think it's Washington because I look at that point in history, how bold of a decision that must have been to take on what had to be an obviously losing battle, a non-professional army against the world's greatest, to organize men that were scared for their lives, scared for their families' lives, to pull in resources that had to be cobbled together, and then to drive a years-long fight against arguably the biggest behemoth, right? The David and Goliath story all over again. I would love to be able to sit down and say, what was your mindset? How did you do it? And then what were the biggest opportunities that you had to overcome the challenges? I would love to know that process, because for me, this process has been, I could talk about how challenging it was, how to raise capital, how I pitched 40 VC firms, easily 45, institutional banks, 100 angels. And that was just on the fundraising aspect of it, all to come down to one amazing investor. But that's nothing compared to putting your and your family and everyone else's, true life in your hands and saying it's a live or die type scenario. So I think that would have been amazing.
If you get a +1, I'd love to be there. One more for you. As far as you mentioned Napoleon Hill, I think anybody that hasn't read and studied what Napoleon Hill is all about, definitely invest in yourself in that front. What are some books that either you're currently reading or that are your must-haves for entrepreneurs that are looking to start their business or get to the level up?
Sure. I mean, the immediate book that goes in my head, and I go back to it from time to time, is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel.
Okay.
I'm not a technologist. I'm a fitness professional, but I have culminated together arguably industry's first, obviously what we call the friction-free ecosystem, which we'll obviously be showcasing and revealing, very, very soon. I think it's going to be one of the not only brand differentiations, but it totally enables this model to be viable. All right. We've taken traditional P&Ls where labor is usually the top on the list at 68, 62. If you're really good, it's 55, all the way down to 18. And I'm paying my host over $20 an hour. So it's much higher than the industry standard. And I've removed a lot of the menial tasks that most people aren't competent in and they hate doing anyways. So this is a rocket ship when it comes to an investor and franchisees for me to operate. But 0 to 1 really got my mindset right. Say what you will about Thiel and like his politics, you don't. Not only was he part of the PayPal Mafia and other groups, but it's really the concept of zero. So how do you start from nothing or analog and go to 1? That's the hardest part in the journey of an entrepreneur. How do you get that first 1,000 or first 10,000 or first million? Because your first from million to 10 million is much easier than from 0 to 1. And it's all about mindset, whether it's you like technology, don't like technology. The book is really about putting together processes, lean strategies, cobble together minimal resources. And truth be told, it's all about being resourceful before you had resources. And that's certainly in my journey, something that had to ring true. Didn't have resources for a long, long, long time. Still, I would say I don't. I have just enough to get us open and operate. But because we had to be so resourceful, now that I have resources, I'm much more responsible and discerning with them, and I can apply them for a greater ROI.
Awesome. 0 to 1.
0 to 1 Peter Thiel, I would say is is the one that immediately goes to head.
Awesome, Steve. Well, I really appreciate you and our team over here at Referrizer for getting on and being a true pioneer in this space. We're beyond excited to support you and continue to watch you throughout this journey.
Great. We're grateful for the opportunity, and it's fun to start to be able to tell the story.
Congrats, Steve. See you soon. Thank you so much. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to head over to our site, local-business-hacks.com, to check out the show notes and send me questions or ideas for future episodes. If you want to grow your business, just like the people you've heard from here, follow Local Business Hacks Podcast and tune in for new tips, tricks, and tactics. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep hacking.